Tom here, FlipAnything USA. We're going to get started here in a few minutes for 10 p.m. Central Time. Anyways, we're going to talk about lowball offers and why this is the time to make them. I've actually put quite a few offers out here this last week, and anyhow, one of the best things you can do when making a lowball offer is mean it, like just 100% mean it. Like you're confident that this is the price, they're not going to get any better, and it's important that they absolutely feel that they start, that you're so confident that they actually question themselves. It's just a huge confidence destroyer when you hit people, especially when the market is kind of slow like it is right now. Hey, Jonathan. Hey, good to see you here. So I'm stuck in the O'Hare Airport. It was I had one thing. Hey, Barry, I'm in Chicago, the O'Hare Airport. I'm supposed to be on a plane right now, but it's been delayed, and I thought I was going to be late to catch this flight. Then I got here just in time, only to have this flight delayed 3.5 hours. So my girlfriend's, she's reading her Kindle back behind me, and I'm just kind of taking care of some time, spending some time. But had a great time. Went and saw Niagara Falls, and that was the first time I'd seen Niagara Falls. Kind of wish I'd have brought my kids there when they were younger, but never too late. May still do that. But back to the real estate. So I made an offer on an office building this last week, and this was a smaller property. They wanted, I don't know, $2.5 million, and I offered $1.5 million, and then they were very upset. But there's nobody else is biting right now. Nobody else is biting. I wouldn't listen if you can't get at least a 9 cap out of a property, then don't bother. It's in New York and Canada, by the way, various both. Right now, money's expensive. There's interest rates depending on where you're at, 6.5 to 7.5% for commercial properties right now, and there's just not enough meat on the bone. But I won't even consider anything. Hey, Russ, how are you, buddy? I won't consider anything right now unless I can get at least a 9.5 cap, and and Russ actually is a great example. Russ just made $1 million basically by making a lowball offer that most people would be afraid to make, but timing's everything. And right now is a really good time. Like in my case, there's a lot of money still floating in my area, and if people, too much 1031 money is floating around, to be quite honest. And so I don't mind making lowball offers, even if I'm not the one who benefits from them. And I realize, listen, when you go out there and make lowball offers, you may be making somebody else's offer look a little better, and maybe you're going to help somebody close that deal. But what it does is it starts to create the fact that things are trending down. And so even though you're helping somebody else possibly by sending your lowball offer, somebody else is going to get it. It's sending a message that things are going down, and it's taking that buyer, whoever that buyer is that bought the property you were lowballing. Good, that's one more guy out of the way. That's out. That's off the market. He blew his wad. His cash is gone. He's no longer going to be competing with you on the next deal, or potentially, anyways, depending on the size of the investor. But so I've made an offer on a pretty good sized retail property, a good sized office building. And Russ here just got one. Russ just got another property. Where'd it go? Russ, what was the asking price? I know Russ just got one. What'd you get it for? $450, Russ? Let's see. Russ says just got another property for $518,000, then lowered back down to $450 after inspections. It's worth about 1.2. Yeah, there you go. So there's another $500,000 or more dollars made. So this is what I'm talking about. People are ripe right now for lowball offers. The stress is kicking in. They're not seeing rates go down, even though it was paused. I thought rates were going to go up again, and I expect they will go up the next time. but uh, this is how it begins. This is how you start to, like I say, beating up the sellers, beating up the market in general. Look for those new listings, and look, and even at the old listings. I'll give you an example. I bought a property that I bid on this thing since I want to say 2019, and originally I was looking at it. They were asking 2.1 million. I was considering 1.9 million at the time, and I made an offer 1.9 or 1.8. They didn't take it, and then I ended up buying that property about a year and 3 months ago, and I bought it for 1.6 million dollars. And so I got it for far less than where they started at. But in other words, it took 3 or 4 years to beat them down. And right now, the reality is kind of setting in for people because, when you can start to see that you have things coming due, you start to think, I can't be so optimistic. 18 months goes by like that, and maybe you got a huge balloon, or you got other obligations. I remember about 30 years ago, a guy that I had to actually foreclose on. I didn't foreclose on him. I actually got him to deed his property to me in lieu of foreclosure because I was going to foreclose on him. And I had sold him the property for $520,000, and he had a note that he was paying to me for $295,000. He was paying me $2,450 a month. That was 10% interest only, and he had cross collateralized property. So in other words, he had a big, fat, juicy note coming out, another one, and he borrowed money against that to buy another, and then the payments stopped coming in, and next thing you know, he found himself in hot water, and he just deeded that property back to me. And not long after he deeded it back to me, one of the people, when he was trying to sell it, one of those buyers had come back to him and said, "Hey, I want to buy it now." And he said, "Well, it's gone." So he came back to me and he said, "Hey, Tom," and the market had gone down, and he says, "I got a buyer that'll pay 240,000 cash for the property." Now, keep in mind, I'd sold the property for 520,000, and now I got money. I got a lot of money, and I took it back. And now that I got it back, I basically I've got a property that was paying me 2450 a month, and now I was getting nothing. And so what did I do? I said, "Hey, bring me that guy that'll give you 240,000 cash, and I'll give you." I can't remember if I gave him 20 or 40,000, but I gave him either 20 or 40,000. But what I did is I sold it to him, and then I gave this guy 20 grand cash for bringing me the buyer. And these are the kinds of things that happen when you really hit a hard downturn. And I've seen a couple of them, but that one I'm talking about goes back more than 20 years ago, far before, like, probably 1989, something like that. And you got to face reality, and that's what people are having to do right now. So it's a great time to lowball for that reason. If you look at Bring a Trailer, Bring a Trailer sells cars. They've got a lot of exotic and cool cars. They got a lot of inventory right now, and it's because second cars, second cars become very unimportant. You have to do second homes and third homes and stuff like that. So Richard wrote, "How long is a lowball compared to retail, percentage-wise?" Lowball. When I say lowball, Richard, I'm talking about, it could be 25%, 30% off of whatever they're asking, or whatever you feel full retail is. Just because whatever, I don't go by what somebody's asking, and I go, yeah, they're asking 2.3. I know they'll take maybe whatever 2.1, but that's not good enough. I'm kind of doing the math in reverse because I want to see, a 10 cap, right? So I figure out what a 10 cap is, what I need to buy it for to get a 10 cap, and then that's what my offer will be. So it could be anywhere from 25 to 30% off, but it's a rude awakening. And I had another property that wasn't really bad, but it's got some, there's some risks. There's some risks with this other property. Not terrible risks, but some risks. When I say risk, I mean it's a property that I think is destined to be $1 a foot rental. When I say $1 a foot, I mean $1 per foot per month. Some people would call that a $12 rental, meaning $12 per year per foot. Yeah, let me look at these other questions. Looking for tall grass, Richard. I'm not familiar with that one. Yeah, The East Heights says depends on location and condition. I'm not sure what that's responding to, but yeah, look, there is no bad real estate. There's just bad deals, and don't make a bad deal, and you can always make money. I learned that a long time ago. Can someone who doesn't know anything about real estate get into your? You know what? Yes, with some exceptions. I don't let just anybody in the mentorship. Some people have great potential, and there's people that are just complete tightwads. They don't want to pay for anything. I had a couple of those guys here last seminar, and they think that they can go out and find what they can learn from me free on the internet, and they can't. They're not going to find it. You're not going to get a mentor for free, buddy, and that's okay. But you know what I tell you is, if you've got common sense and you know, if you, I don't know how old you are, but you know, I look at it's not just about money and experience. I have guys in my mentorship that have been in real estate for 30 plus years, and they didn't get in because they had 30 plus years investment experience. It just depends. It just depends. You're 30, 33. Well, I mean, you're plenty old enough. You know, listen. What I would tell you to do is fill out the mentorship survey, get my book. Don't even bother until you get my book. Order my book, read that, and if it feels like something you want to learn about, then I'll talk to you. But if somebody doesn't have, you know, the wherewithal to buy a book, then I'm probably not going to waste my time talking to you, to be quite honest. You got to want it. I can tell you right now, you got to want it. And there's nothing like real estate. I'm telling you guys, yeah, so don't, I'm talking to you straight, but go get the book. It'll answer a lot of questions, and it'll either motivate you or it'll, you know, maybe it'll turn you off. If it turns you off, it's not for you. If it gets you excited, if you want to make money the way I have, then you know, that's good. You're probably a good fit. But then we'll have a talk. But there is what I was starting to say with this. So we got back to the lowball offers. Like I said, by making the lowball offers, even if you don't get it, you're taking somebody else off the market that has money that's in your area. One of your competitors that's competing for deals, and but also you're showing that the market is going down, because right now there's so many more houses, and houses are an indication that the market's going down. Right now, houses are selling for about 20% less than they were selling for, maybe 15 to 20% in certain areas, 15 to 20% less than they were a year and a half ago. So people can see that, and it is relative. Believe me, if houses are going down that much, so is everything else. But you don't get the feedback as quickly on commercial and office and retail. It just sits there, not selling. But you need a closed sale. You need a sale for people to point to it and say, "Yep, it's official. Things are going down." You know, they were asking X for it, and now or they bought it and they sold it for the same price they bought it from 2-3 years ago. And believe me, there's a lot of deals made sense 2 or 3 years ago, but you can't make sense of them because the money's too expensive to make the purchase. But like, hey Russ, is the bank giving you any money on that? Or are you paying cash for that? And Richard, what do you got going? Are you working on anything right now? You paid cash. Yeah, I mean, cash. Listen. When you got cash, it's a wonderful tool, because when you can tell somebody you'll close it in a week, no contingencies other than title, and then figure it out, make sure it makes sense. It's a fantastic tool. You can always refi it after the fact if the asset's good. So good for you, Russ. Hey, PGM, do you expect to get any lowball offers soon, Tom? I don't have anything for sale. There's nothing I want to sell. I take it back. I have one piece of land I'm putting up. I'm going to put up a piece of land for, I bought 5 3/4 acres for $2.5 million, and I think I'm going to let go a piece of it. I've already got a commitment from a tenant to rent 30,000 square feet, but I got to build the building, so I'm going to build a building on the 1 3/4 that I have, but the other roughly 4 acres, I think I'm just going to go ahead and put it on the market. So I'll find out. But as it is, the way it stands right now, I could justify selling it for. I could sell it for $1.8 million and be happy. because the other remainder that I have, it pencils out at the 700,000. And like I say, I've got a long-term committed investor, or I should say a tenant. The tenant already pays me a lot of money for the building that I own next door. So this will be an expansion of that same, of their, they've already renting a similar type property in a very inconvenient area. Now I'm putting it right next door to one of their other main properties, so it just makes sense. Um, and hey, Russ, the property that did you end up putting an auto body shop in that space that you had? Uh, yeah. Anyways, I like auto body. I can tell you, auto body business is a good business. Hey, Jerry, Jerry, man, I can't wait. Can't wait for your deal to close, Jerry. This is really cool. You're going to be a great inspiration to a lot of people. You and Russ and Rich and Chris, and there's so many people in the class have done so well. But it's pretty neat when you see somebody make $1 million on a property, and you're about to join the Millionaires Club. So I'm really excited for you, Jerry. It's a very, very cool thing, and I'm looking forward to the interview so we can share it with others. Uh, so look, if you just got here, please hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. I've been investing in real estate the last 42 years, and started mentorship a while back, and it just shows that it is a teachable skill. And I've got people that have been already very good at real estate in different aspects, but they wanted to learn about a different area that they weren't so familiar with, and I've been able to open those doors up for them and help them, make and close deals. And it's been wonderful. Richard, sitting on my money, waiting for the cash or waiting for the crash. Yeah, it's good. It's good. I'll tell you what. I hope you dress for the crash. That's what I've been telling people the last 3 years. I say you got to dress for the crash. In motocross, you dress for the crash. You can go out and have a great time on a motorbike and never have a crash. But if you do have a crash, if you're not prepared, it'll just tear you to pieces, or even kill you. But if you're dressed for the crash, you know what? You just get up and dust yourself off, and you're good because you're prepared. Uh, anyways, but yeah, things are definitely going to crash, and yeah, it's just it's not something. There's going to be a lot of people. A lot of people made mistakes, and that's just how it goes. That's just how this win-win stuff. There is some win-win deals out there, and right now, for some people, that might be getting out of a property they paid too much for, and or you know get saving their credit, and or maybe losing their ass on one property, but even though they're losing their ass on one, it's helping them save the rest of their portfolio. So that can be a win-win. You make $1 million on them, or $500,000, or whatever the deal is. It could be 100 grand, 50 grand, whatever, relative to the purchase price. The win for them is, believe me, I've been in tough times, and I sold properties that I wish I'd have sold them earlier. I didn't lose money. I lost money on one property, a big piece of land. Me and a buddy lost 150,000. In fact, that interview, I went and saw my buddy in Idaho, and I just turned on the camera like I am right now, and we just chatted for about 30 minutes about a couple things, about Mr. Brown, and the man I met in Compton told me don't buy in Compton, and he knew better than anybody. And then, but also the $320,000 we bought. We bought 80 acres for $4,000 an acre, 320,000, and we ended up handing it back. I actually deeded it back to the sellers because it was no longer worth what we owed on it. That was a hard lesson, and that was it wasn't that hard a lesson, but it was a good lesson. It was 50 grand was not a small amount. 30 something years ago. Are you basing 25% lowball offers on prices a year and a half ago? No. PGM, whatever I think a property is worth today, and so let's just do the math on that. Let's just say, there's a little bit. Let's just say I know that pretty much anything would sell with about a 6.5 cap last year, because you could borrow the money for 4.5%. So a lot of properties were selling at a 6.5 cap. And I'm never happy with that. I got to have a 9 even then. Well, interest rates have gone up quite a bit, so I'll figure out what I think if a property will give me a 10 cap, and there's There's room to move up. In other words, I'll give you an example. I bought a 17,000 square foot retail center not long ago, maybe 2 years ago, uh, and I paid 2.8 million for it. It was worth 4 million when I bought it, uh, and the conditions on that were such that most of the leases had either expired or were about to expire, and so I could see it was under rented. So I was able to raise the rents on all those. So I bought it right the day that I bought it, but I even further increased the value because I raised the rents about 70,000 or maybe 80,000 a year now. I just had another increase, and so those are some of the things you weigh out when you're going to buy a property. Is it under leased? I could buy a property that maybe is only making 5 or 6%, but I can see that the leases are expiring, and there's an opportunity to raise those and to bring it up to a 10 cap. Those are the kinds of things you need you'll learn from me. But it's what I've been doing for a very long time. So BGM, when I say 20, I don't even say 25%. I just kind of weigh in all that stuff. In the end, because maybe somebody's not so far off. Maybe somebody's already 10% under market. I take it down, not based on what I think it's worth. What I think it's worth. What I evaluate what it to be worth. I'm going to take 25% off of that. And I may even factor in, after I raise the rents, I may factor in, the fact that they're already 10% under market. So maybe I only need to buy it 15% under what they're asking it for because they're already reasonable, and that works. But some people they add 300,000 or 400,000 or $500,000 on a $2 or $3 million deal, and knowing that they're going to hand that take. I don't even consider that. That's just that's just they're just lobbing something on top of there it's like doubling the prices so you can sell it for half. It doesn't make any sense. So what else, Jerry? You got anything else you're working on, or Russ or Richard? I know you're sitting on your cash there, Richard. Um, are you guys looking at buying anything else? Is there any other things you're looking at buying? Cars right now. You can get a wonderful deal on a car if you're in the market for a car, because those are definitely getting soft. Unfortunately, I don't even really love cars particularly. I got that Land Cruiser I bought not too long ago. I liked it, and it's just been sitting there, as a backdrop in my little studio. But I don't need it. But I don't know. I may buy something. I haven't found anything that I want really. Russ said yes, a retirement facility that's been sitting unfinished for 5 years. And so a retirement facility. How many rooms? Matt wrote, do you think you'll experience in this? Yeah, Matt, I'm hoping so. That's exactly what I'm hoping for. Yes, I agree, Matt. I do, and I got a piece of that action too. Russ wrote, they want 8 million for it. I'm going to try and give 3 million. How many square feet? 240 rooms. I'm guessing that's over 120,000 square feet, something like that. 40K, 40,000 square feet. 40,000 square feet, 240 rooms. Yeah, I guess those rooms are quite small. Does it have a kitchen facility? Did they ever finish out the kitchen? Matt wrote, people can easily beat the bank's interest rate by getting into treasuries. Yeah, but you know what, Matt? Yeah, listen, that's going broke slow. Listen, it, yeah, it's going broke slow. Listen, you got to make. I mean, really, you really need to make. You need to borrow some money and make about 25% return on cash. So in other words, if you got to leverage some of your purchase and make money on that as well. If you get some owner financing, I think there is some good opportunities for owner financing. Tom, buy an Audi R8. You would like it, and you would look great. Thanks, Dennis. Yeah, I've looked at the R8. It is pretty fun. It looks pretty cool little car. Uh, I was actually looking at a Shelby too, but again, really, I'm more excited than ever right now just about buying more property. And I'll get a car down the road. That's a good thing. I always figure, you know what? I'll buy a car with whatever I make the money on next. But you know what? That day almost never comes. Because then I want to buy another property. I want to buy another property, and so I keep pushing the cars down the road because it's just never been that important to me. But Jerry wrote, "I'm just waiting for that Cayenne." Well, you know what, Jerry, I might sell it to you. But that Cayenne, you know what? Just as soon as it hit 62,000 miles, it had a $4,800 oil leak. But I got to say, to Porsche's credit, by the way, I was out of warranty, and I went back to Porsche and I said, you know what, man, this is really not cool. And you know what? They took care of it. So thank you, Porsche. Actually, I got to thank Porsche Austin on that one. What some people don't realize this, but Porsche they'll give dealerships, they'll give them a little allowance every month, and they're like, hey, this is feel good money to make the customers feel special. I don't know what the budget is, but they give them some money, spend it on the sides of the Porsche dealership. But my Porsche dealership, and I didn't buy it from them originally, but they were still very generous. And what they did was they took that money, that fund that they get for spoiling customers, and they used it and they fixed my car, the $4,800 oil leak. So I love Porsches, I really do. I love the Cayenne. It's a wonderful car, beautifully made, and I feel like you're in a sports car, but you're not. But it is still really good. Oh, I know you're not saying to buy treasuries. Yeah, but no. If you got anybody that wants to buy treasuries, tell them you want to borrow the money, and just tell them you'll give them more than the treasuries, and then you borrow the money from them, and then go use it on something better. Yeah. Hey, Russ. Find the money. Yep. Hey, Elite Clinical Research. I believe that's Kai, right? Is that Kai? Working on the deal right now, seeing if I can put it together. Yeah, I'd be careful, Russ. Uh, I would be careful still. You know, that's a big, sounds like a big facility. It could be a big money eater. Is there any alternative uses for it? I doubt it, but I just wonder. That's another thing is, if you can find some of these mall type properties, a lot of these old malls are, they're kind of antiquated, because just not the same style as they used to be. There might be some good opportunities for using those for warehouses. Finding the private cash is my issue. Yep. Matt Bittner, the point I'm trying to make is higher treasury rates is causing money to leave the banks. I got you, Matt. I got you. Always looking for an opportunity to flip anything, Tom. Tech stocks are flying, but that's gambling, not investing. I agree. Every time people talk about stocks, and I can tell you, I had a chance to buy, I'm going to say American Airlines. A buddy of mine says, hey, American Airlines, I think it's going to go 10 times. Well, it actually went up, I think, 40 times. And, I could have thrown 100 grand out there and made 5 million. But that's a very, very, that doesn't happen very often. And sure, I wish I'd have thrown 100 grand on it and made 5 million. But in all honesty, that's the only exception to what I've seen, something that does really well. But I've seen my own money. I've seen 50,000 grow into 7 million just in one limited partnership. One limited partnership started with 50 grand and is now worth probably, I don't want to exaggerate, right about $7 million. And it's a chunk. It's a chunk. So yeah, yeah, that'll be interesting, Russ. Yeah, I look forward to hearing and seeing more on that. And so was that right? Yeah, okay, that is you, Kai. There you go. Hey, Kai, what happened on the last deal you went and looked at? You were going to either you already had the thing signed. What were you at on that last deal we talked about last week? Kai, by the way, is about several properties. He's been in the mentorship for a couple of years, and really doing some cool stuff. And is this other one? Is this third one you're working on, or this last one you're working on, I should say, Kai, is that a oh heck, I can't even think of it because I don't have any of them. Uh, you know, welfare. We inspected on Friday, and now we are going back to the seller for more concessions. Good for you. Yeah, that's the thing. Once you have it under contract, if you do start to find some problems with it, I mean, hey, listen, it's business. Beat them up. Uh, so that's good. What kind of stuff did you find? Anything serious, or are you just you kind of just pumping it up a little bit? Yeah. Well, you know what? Interest rates are so high now that the interest rates are so high now that the money is tempting. It's tempting for private individuals to loan money because they're not going to get they don't they're getting 4.5, 5% from some banks, but again, if you can borrow money from an individual for 5%, and because what they're faced with is, if things do soften up, the interest rates go down, but you can make a longer term commitment to borrow the money at 5 or 5.5%, and it's a good deal for them if they, if you're borrowing for 10 years and they go, okay, good, I got a guaranteed 10 years at 5.5. Now, of course, if things really change drastically, and I don't think they will, to be quite honest, I would take I would agree to a fixed loan for 5.5, 10, whatever, 5.5%, even if I had to stay stuck in it, because I really don't think you're going to see anything better than that even in 10 years from now. I just don't think it's going to happen. You got to remember, I started in 12% interest rates, and they were coming down from 16. Okay, Elite wrote, uh, electrical is in good shape with relatively new panels. Plumbing has been replaced in most places with PVC, and the units are already separated with utilities. Foundations in good shape. So, what did you pick on them with? Hey, Aaron. Hey, Aaron. Glad to see you in here, buddy. Uh, so, Elite wrote, yes, units A and B will need complete renovation. Oh, okay. So, what did you ask for concessions? Did you find anything that wasn't already obvious, or what did you come back and hit them with? Matt Bittner, what duration loan do you think you can? Hey, you can. Depends on how old they are. Just depends on how old they are. Oh, hey, Aaron. You know what, Aaron? Emails went out about 5 days ago saying I wasn't going to do the meeting this morning. I apologize. Well, check your spam folder, check your email, and if you didn't get there, let me know, and I'll correct it. Make sure you're in there. I actually did check with several people. Most people did get the email. Everybody I talked to. Russ wrote, Tom, what do you think will happen with rates? Fed didn't raise them this last. I don't think it's a big deal. I think that I almost think they're probably doing the White House a favor by not going up, by holding off on this last raise. But I think the next one you're going to see it go up. I figured they go up at least an eighth, but I think you're going to see them hit another eighth. This They're not going to be happy. They still haven't they haven't dissuaded enough people from investing. Things are still going pretty well. In some aspects, money's getting expensive, and believe me, interest and property values are dropping. But I think they want to see more job losses. I really think they want to see business shook to the bone. Uh, the floor is sinking in the kitchen in Unit B, so it will. I need sister joists to replace where applicable. Okay. I assume you got good access underneath there. You're in an area where you guys aren't on slabs. Yeah, Aaron. Yep. Yeah, check it out, Aaron. And also want to I'd love for you to share back with me a little bit on that last thing we talked about. Uh, Not here. Uh, what duration have you typically gotten from a private lender? Oh, dude, I've gotten 30 years. I've gotten 30 years interest only. Uh, I've gotten 2.5% interest only for 15 years, and had to be assumable where I had somebody else take my position on it when I did sell it. Uh, yes, Matt, I do expect more rate hikes. I absolutely do. So Elite says, yeah, they already agreed to $10,000 off, I guess, before we put it under contract. So I'm going to ask for another 10. Also, the heat furnace needs, yeah, I used to call it being $5,000 to death, $5,000 to death, because it just seems like, you got a lot of property, and I'm talking about maybe when I had 150,000 square feet. I've got pushing 200,000 now, but I think I'm at 185. Now what used to be being $5,000 to death is now being $8,000 and $10,000 to death. Meaning, if AC goes out, AC goes out, AC goes out. Every time it's $8,000 to $10,000. Or if it was a boiler, in a apartment building, again, 10 grand now. Um, Joe wrote, with interest rates going up, how are we supposed to buy properties and resell them? Joe, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. Let the interest rate go up. The price just has to adjust. Listen, I used to pay 10% interest on everything that I bought was 10% interest. No big deal. No big deal. You make up for it with the lower price on the property. It all averages out. It doesn't matter what the interest rates are. It really doesn't, because it's just something's got to give. Interest rates are high. It comes out of the height of the seller. The prices have to go down. There's no other place for the money to come, and that's why you'll see properties. And I've seen a lot of them. And I bought a lot of them. Look, I bought a 34 unit apartment building for $340,000. That you couldn't build that thing. Even then, you couldn't have built it for less than $3 million. And it had gone. It's been foreclosed on. Gone back to the bank 3 or 4 times before I bought it at different prices. I call it stair-step recession, and I think that's what you're going to see right now: stair-step recession. Like, it can't get any worse than this. People buy, and then it gets worse, and then those people lose their houses as well. So it's really important that you make your money on the purchase and flip it, or unless you have a good, the only reason, if you're buying a house and that sort of thing, you got to buy it under market so you can flip it and make your money. Land, same thing. Buy it so you can flip it. Don't hold it. Stuff you want to hold is stuff like retail property, industrial property, stuff that has a business. And I love self-employed people. This is one of the reasons I love commercial real estate so much, is because if you've ever been self-employed, you will never go back to work for anybody else unless you absolutely have to. And it's just that entrepreneurial spirit, that will, that strong will to never go back to working for somebody. And that is what sustains my retail business, my retail rentals, right? My industrial rentals. Now, houses are different. Houses can be rented to me, people that rent for me, I rent houses. Some of them are self-employed. Some of them actually rent their business space and their home space from me. But that is such a reliable clientele. Okay, you get a house, you got somebody that's got a job. That's not near as reliable as a tenant that is self-employed. They will never go backwards. They will never go back. They're gonna survive. They might change their whole business model. They may start selling yo-yos if they have to. Just because they're never gonna work for anybody again. Hey, Mike K, how you doing? Joe, thank you, buddy. And Kai wrote, also the tenants are behind on rent, so may need to kick them out if we can work out a deal. So I want concessions for that as well. And tell me, are these Section 8? This is going to be a Section 8 one, Kai? Or are you changing gears a little bit? Kai does a lot of Section 8, and he's been doing well with it. Okay, Pen. What are some good strategies for renegotiating? Oh, a commercial lease. That is interesting. You got to remember, I don't know if I want to give that away because I'm on the lessor side of that. I'm not the lessee. Mike K, you have to elaborate on that a little bit. Elite wrote, no. Okay. Right. Yeah. So, okay, I'll get to all these questions here. Uh, Elite wrote, first of all, no, the current tenants are not Section 8, but I will put in a Section 8 tenant since I can get above market rent. Well, and that's probably good. It'd be easier to kick these guys out, too, I'm sure. Mike K wrote, any markets you think are good opportunity to buy and hold. I like anywhere, I like really any big city economy. As long as you're in an area, unless you have a big employer that can go out and devastate the area, you're going to be safe. But I like commercial properties, just where people, but services, right? In other words, commercial real estate that has hairdressers, tattoo parlors, vape shop, restaurant, bar. Those are all super strong tenants. Vacant land is always viable, Edward, but you got to be careful. You got to be careful. The only property I really lost money on was a piece of vacant land. That was a long time ago when I was not as experienced as I am now. But yeah, vacant land, 100%. Chris, who was just in here, he just made $70,000 on a lot just in the last several months. And there's other people that have money. They're going to build their dream home. You got to remember, there's people at different stages of life, and there's people that are like right now. There's a lot of people that are like, you know what? We're going into a downturn. I'm just going to retire now. I'm not going to fight it for the next 10 years. I'm just going to retire now. And so they go, they go buy their dream lot to build their dream home, and they put the money aside. They've already got it figured out. They can buy a lot, and they can pay good money for it. I'm in Texas, like at the moment though I'm in Chicago. Uh, yeah, so yeah, pen, when you're asking if your tenants can renegotiate a lease with you, I mean, I think they can. It's up to you. I got I always look at my tenants as partners somewhat. Our success is shared. I do everything I can for them to survive and do well, and I I just do everything I can to help them survive. If I think they're not a good business person, then I just soon let them fail and push them out and get somebody better in. But in general, I love all my tenants, uh, and I've done some kind of extraordinary stuff to help some of my tenants survive at different times. The bars went through some tough stuff, and I've helped my bars, I've helped other restaurants, and like I say, success is shared. Thanks, Edward. Uh, I, you know, yeah, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, Edward. It you just got to buy it right. You got to understand that nothing is worth as much today as it was, 2 years ago. Everything was worth more 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, because the money's cheaper. Now, there's some exception if you got unique lots, properties that are like lakeside golf course properties, stuff that has some sort of amenity and something special about it, walkability to maybe a good area, which those are all good things to look for, by the way. But infill lots definitely, and but anyways, what else you guys got? We'll wrap it up here pretty quick. Hey, if you just got here, please hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. And I love real estate, and I love talking real estate, and always appreciate the questions, and always want to help out if I can. Joe wrote, "What does your title mean? Lowball offers real estate. It's time means it's time to." Oh, you guys are a little late. You have to watch from the beginning. I'm saying this is a great time to give lowball offers, because for a lot of different reasons, but primarily. People are weak. People are weak. People are getting concerned. Listen. The reality is you can't be too optimistic now. It's just silly to be. You're fooling yourself if you're optimistic about, the economy's going to get better. There's plenty of reasons to think the economy is not going to get better. And believe me, those people that have those assets, you consider a guy's got a big, got more assets than cash. Well, he's in serious trouble of maybe losing, damaging everything. So he has to get rid of something in order to sustain the rest. Rate hike cycles almost always lead to recession. Yep, I would agree. Um, anyways, guys, I'm gonna call it a night. Thanks a lot for hanging out with me here at the airport. I'm gonna catch a plane here hopefully pretty soon, and fall asleep on that flight and get in about 2 or 3 a.m. So again, please hit that subscribe and please comment down below. It helps channel when you comment. And you got any other questions or you want to touch on some other topics, just let me know and I'll do it. Thanks everybody, Russ, everyone in the class, Jerry. Looking forward to having Jerry. You guys going to see Jerry and Russ both killer deals. Really, really fantastic stuff we'll be sharing soon.